Today, Queen's University is one of the most popular destinations for Jewish students in Canada. But that's a relatively recent development. For much of the university's history, Jewish students were a tiny minority on campus, and yet, from that small community emerged some extraordinary individuals. A future founder of a major Israeli university, one of Queen's greatest ever benefactors, a Hollywood movie star, a Chief Justice of the Quebec Superior Court, and a leading Zionist who played a pivotal role in the success of the Israeli War of Independence. So in my latest video exploring the history of Jewish Kingston, let's look at 5 early Jewish alumni of Queen's University whose stories deserve to be remembered. If you've ever visited the Agnes Etherington Art Centre, you've already encountered part of Sam Zach's legacy. Samuel Zaks was born in Kingston and graduated from Queen's in 1924 before continuing his studies at Harvard. From there he went on to be a successful investment banker, and by 23 he was already a millionaire. Then he lost it all in the Wall Street crash, and then he made it back. And that was only the beginning. Over the following decades, Zaks would become one of the most important figures in Canadian Jewish life. He helped establish refugee support efforts for Jews fleeing Nazi Europe. He served as president of the Zionist Organization of Canada during the most consequential years in modern Jewish history, and was a personal friend of David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister. And in 1948, when the Jewish community of Palestine was fighting for its survival in the War of Independence, Zaks became the only Canadian member of the secretive Sonnenborn Institute, a network that helped procure money, equipment, and arms for the Haganah. In other words, this Queen's graduate played a small but real role in the creation of the State of Israel. But that's only half the story. Together with his wife Ayala, herself a member of the French resistance during the Second World War, Sam Zaks became one of Canada's greatest art patrons. In 1963, they donated a remarkable collection of modern Canadian art to Queen's, and that gift helped transform the young Agnes Etherington Art Centre and remains one of the foundations of its collection today. So next time you walk through the Agnes, remember, one of the people who helped build it was a Kingston-born Queen's graduate who helped build both Canadian Jewish life and, in some small way, modern Israel. When Ze'ev Lev arrived at Queen's, he wasn't yet Ze'ev Lev. He was William, or Willie, Lowe. Born into a Hasidic family in Vienna, he spent part of his childhood in Berlin before escaping Nazi Germany in 1938 to study at the Gateshead Yeshiva in the north of England. Most of his family did not survive the Holocaust. Eventually, he came to Canada and enrolled at Queen's, and here is where the story gets fascinating. While studying physics, Willie became deeply involved in Jewish life, both on and off campus. He was a regular at Beth Israel. He helped lead the early years of Hillel. He edited the Hillel newspaper, The Scroll, and he became known for publicly debating a Queen's professor over Zionism and the future of a Jewish homeland. That was not a small thing in the 1940s. According to his own recollections, he would literally run from campus to the synagogue every day to prepare kosher meals in the synagogue basement before running back to class. He also remembered rushing from military training drills to make it to Mincha before services began. And he was one of the students who successfully pushed Queen's to make accommodations for observant Jewish students whose exams conflicted with Shabbat. After Queen's, Willie completed graduate studies at Columbia University. Then he made Aliyah and moved to Israel. He changed his name to Ze'ev Lev, and in 1969 he founded what became the Jerusalem College of Technology, usually better known as Machon Lev, one of Israel's most important institutions combining advanced scientific education with Jewish religious life. From Vienna to Berlin, from Gateshead to Kingston, from Queen's to Jerusalem, I think it's one of the most remarkable alumni stories the university has ever produced. Few alumni have left a larger mark on Queen's than Dr. Alfred Bader, and few arrived under more difficult circumstances. Born in Vienna in 1924, at the age of 17, Bader escaped Nazi persecution through the Kindertransport. Then, in similar circumstances to former Queen's professor Hans Eichner, who I covered in my last video, because he found himself as an adult Austrian living in the UK during the Second World War, the British interned him as an enemy alien, and he was sent to Canada. After his release, he applied to university. McGill rejected him. The University of Toronto rejected him. Queen's accepted him. That decision changed his life. At Queen's, he earned degrees in chemistry and art history, excelled academically, won scholarships, became active in debating, and eventually served as one of the first presidents of Hillel Queen's. In his memoir, he recalled spending Friday nights at the home of Anna and Isaac Cohen, just off campus, enjoying Shabbat dinners while building a new life in Canada. After Queen's, he completed a PhD at Harvard. Then he founded a small chemical company in a garage in Milwaukee. That company eventually became Sigma Aldrich, one of the most important scientific supply companies in the world. But for many people in Kingston, Alfred Bader is remembered less for the fortune he made than for what he did with it. Together with his wife Isabel, he transformed Queen's University. Bader College at Hurstmonceau Castle in England, the Isabel Bader Centre for the Performing Arts, academic chairs, scholarships, fellowships. The new major expansion of the Agnes Etherington Art Centre is funded by his family. Hundreds of donated artworks, including Rembrandt's. His impact is visible across the university. And yet, what I find most compelling is that this story begins with a frightened Jewish refugee arriving on campus in November 1941, unsure whether he even belonged there. Long before he became Ben Cartwright on Bonanza, long before he became Captain Adama on the original Battlestar Galactica, Lorne Greene was a Jewish student at Queen's. Born in Ottawa to Jewish immigrant parents from the Russian Empire, Greene arrived at Queen's intending to study engineering. Instead, he discovered broadcasting and theatre. Through the Drama Guild and campus radio station CFRC, he began developing the skills that would eventually make him one of the most recognizable voices in North America. After graduation, he joined the CBC, and during the Second World War, his deep, authoritative voice became famous across Canada. Listeners nicknamed him the Voice of Canada. Others called him the Voice of Doom because he was often the one delivering grim wartime news. From there came Hollywood, Bonanza, Roots, Battlestar Galactica, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, an officer of the Order of Canada, and a place among the most recognizable Canadian entertainers of the 20th century. For Queen's alumni, it's worth remembering that one of television's greatest patriarchs first honed his craft right here in Kingston. The final person on this list never became a celebrity, but he may have been one of the most influential. Alan Gold graduated from Queen's in 1938 before studying law at the Université de Montréal. Like many of his generation, his career was interrupted by the Second World War. He served with the Royal Canadian Artillery before returning to legal practice. Over time, he rose through the ranks of Quebec's legal system and eventually became Chief Justice of the Quebec Superior Court. That alone would make him noteworthy, but what made Gold exceptional was the trust people placed in him. Again and again, governments, unions, corporations, and communities turned to him when difficult disputes needed resolving. During the Ochre Crisis of 1990, one of the most significant Indigenous government confrontations in modern Canadian history, Gold played a key role in negotiations. He later helped resolve major labour disputes, reviewed nationally significant legal settlements, chaired university boards, and became one of Canada's most respected public servants. His son, Mark Gold, would later go on to serve in the Senate of Canada, and just a few days ago was named the chair of Mark Carney's new Ministerial Advisory Council on Rights, Equality and Inclusion. It's not the most dramatic story on this list, but it's a reminder that influence often looks less like fame and more like trust. And these are only 5 alumni. There are many more stories hidden throughout Queen's history. Scientists, entrepreneurs, artists, Holocaust survivors, student leaders, Zionists, professors, community builders, people whose journeys began in Kingston and carried them across Canada, Israel, and the wider world. And that's part of what fascinates me about researching Jewish Kingston. The story isn't just about synagogues and community institutions. It's also about the people who passed through this city and went on to leave their mark elsewhere. This summer, I'm launching Jewish History Walking Tours of Kingston, including a dedicated Jewish History of Queen's University tour, where many of these stories come back to the places where they actually happened. Because once you start looking closely, Jewish history at Queen's isn't a footnote. It's part of the story of Queen's itself, and it's part of the story of Kingston. Tickets are available at yostarshish.com/tours.